Hello, this is Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I would like to welcome you to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The most important thing is showing up. Don't think that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up, and remain steadfast and be a...
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is my passion and my purpose, and talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of my favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us to understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up as myself time and time and time again, and trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I'm pleased to welcome Julie Castro Abrams to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy. And we're finally together. Julie is the founder and CEO of How Women Lead, a network of more than 14,000 top executive women who come together to learn, break barriers to success, and make an impact. Julie is an expert on building boards with strategic advantage for including proactive searches for women to serve on corporate boards. She is a sought-after speaker in entrepreneurship and how women lead, and is widely recognized for her unique ability to connect people in ways that make change happen. She is an active investor and advisor to thousands of startups and co-founded the launch for How Women Invest in 2020 to focus on the interaction of female founders and female investors, especially those of color. Thousands of new businesses attribute their launch and growth to her support, which has resulted in millions towards the economic growth in communities. Julie has won many awards, including the Jobs Genius Award, Morgan Stanley Innovation Award, Women Who Could Be President from the League of Women Voters, and many, many more. So I'm pleased to welcome Julie Castro Abrams to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy. We're going to talk about all of her initiatives. She also has an amazing podcast that she hosts, How Women Inspire, so she's going to inspire us today. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Dr. Nancy. What a gift to be here with you today, with a sister in the fight to make it better for women.
Well, I like the justice advocate. You're a justice advocate, but I guess the thing is that we still have much to do in 2022, and in some ways that is hard to understand, but in more ways than none, I think we're still moving forward. We just have to keep pushing that dial, pushing and pushing. But what's important today is you, talking about you and how you became you, because I think it's so easy for women, and you know this, and I know that we do a lot of comparison. Women like to compare themselves to other women, and that's never really, we don't ask enough questions about each other. We just compare before we have any information. So by talking about who you are and your story of where you've come from and why you do what you do, there's always connection. I find anytime a woman tells her story to another woman, there is always an important connection made. So how'd you get to be you? Why am I talking to the Julie I am today? Where did you come from?
Isn't that beautiful? Well, so this is the thing, probably like a lot of people that are listening to you, I grew up sort of middle class, a little upper middle class, maybe in Iowa. I have to tell you sort of both good stuff and bad stuff, but I was an athlete and really, frankly, in order to stand out in my family or to get sort of, get some of those rewards, if you will, and acknowledgement, it was all about being a performer and doing a great job, right? Both academically and as an athlete. And so, I think that that's foundational. A lot of us in my cohort, growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were pushing against, we were the first. I was one of the first girl athletes that were part of Title IX, right? Like I really got the benefit of our own mothers pushing through big efforts for us, but it still felt like we were the first. And we had a lot of responsibility being the first. And feeling a sense of responsibility to our own daughters. And so honestly, being an athlete is an extremely powerful training ground for leadership, if you ask me. It teaches you how to work, it set goals, how to deal with disappointment and frustration, but continue to move forward. You have to work within a team. You have to follow a coach's guideline and get feedback. So all of those things that we all know we're looking for in employees, if you will, right? Or certainly leaders need to have. I feel like that was a really important training ground for me. And I grew up Catholic, and I believed it. I believed we were supposed to live our lives the way the sort of stories were told. And honestly, by the time I was knocking on college, I was like, well, everybody else just wants to wear pretty clothes on Sunday. They're not living their lives this way. And so I kind of crafted my own sort of frame of how I wanted to live my life. And I don't ascribe to a religion at this point in my life, but truly that was formative for me to really, being a good Samaritan, starting with love. It's not about money or power, even though I talk about that for other women, but for me, I want to have an impact. I want to be able to go to sleep at the end of the night and throughout the course of my life, know that I think it's Irma Bombeck or somebody who was like, I want to be exhausted when I die. Like, I want to know that I left nothing on the table. Right.
No regret.
And so I'm just driven by having some privilege. I feel like as a white woman in the United States, growing up in Iowa, getting a great education, I went to terrific schools and having a lot of opportunities and a couple challenges that no need to really get into those too much. But, I feel like that it makes me feel like I have a really deep sense of responsibility in the world. And so hence, being a gender and racial justice activist. I think it's a responsibility as the white woman to create space and to create a better environment for everybody, and especially women of color, and to take a back seat and listen and try and learn and not pretend like I have answers. So I'm pretty humble at this, when you're over 50, you get very humble. And I certainly feel like in many ways, I know what I'm good at. And I'm also, I want to respect and honor other people's life journey. And I probably just, honestly, I start with love as the cornerstone. And I feel like, in all kinds of relationships in life, if I can start with, I'm going to start with love for you, for everybody around me.
Okay.
And then I'm going to drive really hard to make change. So, so you were talking about working with women entrepreneurs. Well, when I think about, I started my career in literally in social work, social justice work, and built a philosophy around poverty alleviation that was really about, if you have a strengths-based approach to poverty alleviation, I feel like it's longer term, sticky, longer term. So what does that have to do with entrepreneurship? Well, if you have a woman who's been trafficked, or a violent survivor in some way, or, having, grown up with really tough circumstances, and she has an idea to start a company and you can help her do that. There is no better way for her to change her frame of who she is in the world, her own mantra, that self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm a CEO, I'm the leader of my organization. And it changes how everybody else around you interacts with you. And so to me, that's how sort of a lot of my career started. I worked in microfinance and microenterprise, which is like helping low-income women start their own businesses, to help over 6,000 women start their own companies. Right. And I started doing that 20 years ago. And a lot of those women are my friends. They're still running those companies and they're doing great. And, but one of the things I saw during that is that there's a ceiling in terms of capital. I could do microloans of $50,000, but when you get to a point where you actually need venture investing, Nancy, only 2% of all venture dollars go to companies founded by women. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Very poor numbers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And so at this stage in my life, if you live long enough, your friends start to run the world. So I can get all those 14,000 women together and say, all right, we're all hungry to have an impact in the world. Once you hit 45, for the most part, there's a new life stage that happens, and being with other women and having an impact are actually the road to happiness. And so I just get women together to become happier and to make change that I want to see in the world, that we all want to see. Well, so we all came together and launched a venture firm to solve for that problem. And there's all kinds of ripple effects. Not only are we, the only venture firm in the country focused exclusively on companies founded by women. So we're really ceiling breakers in that way, which is stunning in 2022. But we are also, those women now, they tell people they're venture investors and they're like, oh, would you go on my board? Or, it's a power play. So there's all these things that are happening as a result. So I don't know, that's a little bit of the journey.
Well, the like-minded community that you're making are also making a difference in the world to change for the world for good. Before COVID, the fastest growing trend were women-owned businesses. That has changed somewhat. But again, if you do have a group of women that are still out there, and we, COVID, a lot of women left the workforce, and we need to get them back in there. And I think women's entrepreneurs are the best way to do that, but to invite other women to come into that community. This is the way it has to be done. Our backgrounds are similar. I think athlete, I guess I basically call myself a tomboy. Because, that's really where I thrived was, it wasn't so much in the classroom, but it was really, I think that's for me where I got my power and felt the strongest and the most capable was in sports. And I think a lot of women, though, that had started out with sports, and of course, we had to develop a relationship with men as well, boys, and not so much women, but boys. And I think this is where a lot of mine came from, was the fact that women did not support each other. And this became my goal time and time again, is to find organizations like yours and other organizations that women supporting each other. Because we know that women right now, we have control over $11 trillion right now. But why aren't women investing in each other and investing in products and services? Because we control 85% of products and services in the United States. Why aren't we controlling the market? So the goal is, again, we have the talent, we have the ability, we have the resources. Why aren't we using them for our better interest, especially women and women of color, and bringing us together, because we're all in this together?
Well, our culture has set this up. So I actually am kind of a believer, let's give people the positive to focus on.
Sure.
So I actually created a countercultural framework that I ask everybody to buy into when they're involved in our network. And if people don't do this well, I ask them to step out. So we ask people to be fierce advocates for each other. Right. No more backstabbing, mean girl. It's not pie. Like, there's enough for all of us. And it will only work if we're all fiercely advocating for each other. You watch, whether you believe in what she believes in or not, you watch what happened to Hillary Clinton. People are starting to do all that bashing of Kamala Harris. We got to knock that stuff off. We got to knock it off. And we got to stop people in their tracks when they start to do it. It seems like it's a fun pastime, but we are so brutal to women leaders of all kinds. And we have got to fiercely advocate for them. So that's our first invitation. And it creates a safety net. Everybody feels safer when they walk into our community, because they know those are the rules of the road.
You talk about this time and time again. We have to have a seat at the table. Unless women use their voices for good, your group using their voices for good to change the world for good. But until we get the seat at the table and use our voices for good, we can't spend time backstabbing. We can't spend time creating drama. We have to spend time truly finding the women and that gender equity and what we need to move forward in our lives. And that's male advocates as well. So, I think we're on the same page. We've got to be on leadership boards. We have to have a seat at the table. We have to use our voice. And, one of the things that women, I think, have to get used to is not everybody's going to like you. And likability is kind of what they said about Hillary, is that women didn't like her. And, they over 50% of the women could have voted for her, but they said and they worked on that. They worked very, very hard to make sure that people saw her as not a likable person, even though she had the knowledge, the experience, and the talent to become the next president of the United States, and we're not going to go into politics. But the thing is, women have to get used to the fact that not everybody's going to like you, and that being uncomfortable is part of leadership. I mean, I think that's part of it. Women are, again, the fact that how do you become a leader? You have to understand that not everybody's going to like what you have to say. Not everybody's going to, just pat you on the back, and getting uncomfortable and dealing with conflict. And these are things that women need to do. And again, you're advocating for them to be on board of directors, and that's the only way it's going to work. I don't know about you, but I've been on bank boards. I've been on many, many boards, and I'm oftentimes the only female in the room. And so the point is to get other females in the room, but again.
It is. And you were talking about the male advocates. So this credo I was mentioning, this countercultural framework, has 4 elements. The first is be fierce advocates. The second, men actually, when we ask women who makes the most introductions for you, it's often men. More than women. So inviting you to actively make introductions and connections, just like you say, women connect for good. We have to actually connect each other and introduce each other, and stop acting like it's somehow scarcity or reflection on us if the person isn't perfect. Men don't filter in the way that women do. So make introductions and connect women. The third is when she speaks up and isn't being heard, which often happens when you're the only in the room, but be her megaphone and actively reinforce her voice. So that might be on LinkedIn when somebody posts an article that they wrote or has a win. Take extra effort to just acknowledge and promote that person's voice. And the fourth thing, and this is the hardest for a lot of us, is to be unabashedly visible. A lot of us sort of think, oh, I'm the behind the scenes person. I'm going to go, I put other people in front. Well, that's all fine and good. In historically, that was what we were told is the right role for us. And it's indelicate to, stand up in your own power. But this is what I want you to remember when you are having those moments of because culturally we're taught to be the behind the scenes person. It's not lovely. It's not delicate. It's not feminine to stand, be powerful and have a voice. But my daughter's watching you. My 20-something daughter is getting her cues from how you show up. So if you let the guys have the front seat, if you're not stepping up, that has an impact on her own choices and how she behaves. So do it for somebody else if you can't do it for yourself. So that's how I try to address, like you're working on as well, this sort of the negative cultural stuff that we need to buck. That's my request of everyone is come up with your own version of a countercultural framework, a credo that says we're going to do the opposite of what the culture has taught us in those negative ways.
Yeah, we can't be what we can't see and what we can't hear and what we know until we actually get out there and do the show and tell. And really, we have the Lift Women Up campaign every day of the year. We have something that women can do for another. We're going to ask you to be a part of that, Julie. Get in the Lift Women Up campaign. But we do this every day. There's something that we have 365 days a year, but every day you can do something to lift another woman up. And if you lift as you rise, and this is the other thing, how many women, when they excel and move up into the C-suite and go into the upper levels of management, bring another woman with them? This is the thing, is that you're always bringing someone with you. We talk about mean girls, and you talk about it also. But, I still hear, what do I do about the mean woman? I can't believe it's still going on. But these young women are wanting mentors. They want somebody in the workplace to help them to elevate their skills and to use their skills in the company and understand the culture itself. So we have to continue to find those resources within the company and again grow those mentors and grow those relationships. Any any successful company, I don't care if you're selling beans or you're selling, t-shirts or whatever, it's all about relationships. And we women, we have that expertise. We're great at relationships. We're great at communication, but we have to use those skills, especially in corporate America, to really lift ourselves as we rise. The other thing, Julie, that we're not very good at is asking for help, asking for what we need. How many women go in and negotiate their salaries from the very beginning? How many women go in and already understand what their benefits are already asking what are their opportunities for advancement in a company? So we've got to get over being not be shy anymore.
Well, this is my invitation for people to consider. I'm always sort of like, what is the positive of the negative? All right, you like helping other people and you feel really good about yourself when you help other people, right? That's every woman you talk to is like, do you like helping other people? Absolutely. Well, then you're being selfish if you're not asking somebody else to help you.
Yeah. How can I help you?
You give other people a gift when you ask them to help you.
Yeah,
and so of course there's limits to it. You got to be reasonable about it, but that's not usually a problem for us.
No. But again, this is what you're doing. How women lead, you're helping women do that. You're also how women invest. And again, women are investing in companies and other organizations that are doing the same thing. I mean, I'm talking to you today because of what you're doing. I'm not talking to somebody else who's not helping women, could care less what happens to women or men. It's all about doing good and making a difference in the world. And you're doing that. And so so the question then becomes for me, how can I help you? What can I do for Julie to help her to continue her wonderful journey to empower more and more women to be on corporate boards, to learn how to invest in companies that are making a difference to make this a better world. And as you say, come out with love, but it's always about developing positive, healthy relationships in the company. And that's all we need, a good relationships.
So Nancy, you're doing it. And so this is sort of what my mission is right now. I want every woman to know what it takes in your career pathway to get on a corporate board, and why it would be of benefit to you and to the world to have you in that leadership role, so that you start to map your career and really start to put it on your pathway to get there. So one is, I want all of you to listen to me and take this seriously. 10 years ago, in California, there were only about 10% of all public company board directors are women. And today it's over 30%. The doors have been swung wide open for you. It used to be it was all CEOs and CFOs that were on boards. That is no longer the case. We need women who are great at culture, digital transformation, cybersecurity. There's all these different roles for all of us. And that continues to evolve as we all start to become smarter about what makes good companies and good governance. Yeah. So I want every single woman that's listening to this conversation to really take a step back. And then not only that, but it takes 9 people encouraging you to run for political office. So my guess is it's probably somewhere between 7 and 10 people encouraging you to consider going on a corporate board. So think about 5 to 10 women in your community that you respect, that you think should be putting it on their roadmap, and encourage them. Just make the suggestion, because we all need that suggestion. So that's getting women on corporate boards. I think the other thing is, every single person listening on this call, if you work for a company, you can ask them how many women are on the board. Yeah. Just by anyone you do business with and your own employers. If you ask that question, most people kind of scurry around because they want to make sure that they have the answer, and just asking the question helps. It's a drumbeat. Yeah. And then I want 10,000 women to start investing in venture for the first time. They don't need to invest with my fund. Happy to have a conversation if that's interesting to you. What I want is you to step into the power and influence and money that investing in venture results in. The stock market is tanking right now. You shouldn't be looking at your portfolio because it's too scary. But this is what I want you to know. Venture is killing it right now. Our returns are fantastic in our fund. So this is an important diversification for your retirement, your donor advised fund, any money that you are investing. It's a really important thing for you to be thinking about whether or not this is the right time for you to invest in venture capital. You don't have to know anything about investing in companies, because I do. Whoever's running that firm, you just need to know that you trust the people running the firm and you like what they believe in. Maybe you should ask them also how many women-run companies they're investing in, but I can give you some other things to look at. But this is the thing. A professional is leading that firm. They know how to find companies. They know how to make good decisions. You don't have to be involved in that. You can in some cases, but that's not a requirement. You just need to decide you're going to put money into venture as an asset class. And the resulting influence that you have can be significant. And it also will result likely in
the reason why so many of the women entrepreneur companies are successful is women are they're actually problem solving. And this is what women have always been so good at: produce a service, produce a product, produce something that solves a problem. And women are fantastic at doing that. And so as investors, you're absolutely correct. Everybody knows what the issues are. If there's something out there that you truly are passionate about, whether it's people or animals or the environment, I mean, there are so many things that we can invest in to make a difference. So, and by the way, California is one of the first states to mandate on public boards that women will be, depending on the number of board members, will be on the board of directors. So we have one state, I don't know where other states are at with that, but we're going to see more and more states coming forward and saying, we must have women on boards. We know statistically over and over again, if women are on boards and they're in leadership positions in corporations, they are more successful. And the bottom line is always better with women in leadership positions. So
and Nancy, like, this is the fact that only 2% of venture dollars go to funding women-run companies means the innovation and creativity you're talking about is not getting fueled. I'll give you one example: menopause. It is a massive life change, and every single woman ends up going through it if you live to 60 or more, right? There are very few solutions and products on the shelf for menopause because we are not getting funded to solve those problems. So we invested in a company called Bossa Bars, which is a fantastic, solution for, it is a health bar and it's no sugar and high protein and all that good stuff. Matcha and, everything that we need. That's an example of what women do. They solve for problems that we all have, but specifically from that lens, either for women or families. And women hire 6 times more women, and they're more likely to pay them equitably and have them in the C-suite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, where can they learn more about you and investing, how to get on boards, how to use their voices for good? How can they learn more from where do they get hold of you? They need to know where you are and how to get hold of you.
www.howwomenlead.com. All one word. That really is the fastest path to Rome. You can also, you'll have a link there on that website to get to our venture firm, but that's called howwomeninvest.com. So we're actively looking for women who want to go on the corporate board, women who need funding for their companies. We want you to be part of this community and to really and be part of this beautiful effort to get women happier by doing things together and having an impact.
Yeah. Well, women also need to know is that we're coming from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Is that there are really a lot of women out there like yourself and me who are out there actively doing this and recruiting other women and bringing women, like-minded women, into the community, as well as like-minded men, so that we can really do all. I mean, we're not going to get anywhere until we all come together and really understand it's about us really making this world a better place. And And I know you're doing that, Julie. So
well, right back at you. I just love our alignment of our focus and our values, and we just need more of us all coming together.
Well, we're just going to have to clone ourselves. We just have to work on that. But
thank you very much.
Like I said, we'll do whatever we can to continue to promote, and let's stay in touch and continue our upward and onward journey to for women to be in more leadership positions and to lift other women as they rise. So we will get you information about the Lift Women Up campaign and your 14,000 women of great influence to continue to lift as they rise. And we'll just keep working for that.
Thank you, Dr. Nancy.
You have a wonderful time. We got it. We did it. We did it. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, honey. You too. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.